Testimony today over Senate Bill 5, which would end collective bargaining in the state of Ohio, erupted into one of the largest protests in Ohio's history. At stake for Republicans, their effort to overturn 30 years of collective bargaining laws. Protesters, union members, Democrats believe it is a bad idea. Every corner inside the State House was packed, mainly with union members and supporters wearing No on SB 5 shirts. The overflow crowd spilled outside to the lawn. Former Governor Ted Strickland returned to the State House for the first time since leaving office. Have you ever seen anything like this?
This is the voice of the people expressing itself. Public employees, firefighters, police officers did not cause this budget crisis.
Ohio's Republican Attorney General Mike DeWine says the state does have the right to revisit a law that's nearly 30 years old.
The state has the right to get rid of it. I think the issue has been misunderstood. You do have contracts that are not just about money. They're contracts about how you can move people around, how you can get the job done.
Some Tea Party supporters were on hand to offer support for the bill, but they were quickly consumed by union members not interested in debating the issue.
I think the bill is a good thing. It has to be passed because Ohio cannot afford the things that are being promised to these unfortunate workers.
Union members complain the 476-page bill will lead to lower wages and benefits.
We feel it's detrimental to us. We make sacrifices. We've taken pay freezes for the last 3 years. We've taken unpaid holidays. We're sharing a bigger burden with our health care.
So thousands protest against this bill, but there is a political reality. Republicans now control the governor's office, the House, and the Senate. If Republicans stick together on Senate Bill 5, it will become law.
Jim, is the governor concerned about these growing protests going on at the State House?
No. As a matter of fact, there seems to be sort of a general disconnect in all of this. I think in the governor's mind, he believes he's on a mission. It's a mission to reform government, cut government, take power from the unions, and there is very, very little sympathy for what he calls the changes that union families may be going through.
We're talking about the government unions feeling one way and taxpayers feeling another. It's to restore some balance. We're not against people being able to talk about their pay.
In this exclusive interview Wednesday, Kasich pointed out he and lawmakers are facing a state budget deficit of $8 billion. The governor argues that changing the nearly 30-year-old collective bargaining law is a tool they need to get the budget under control.
Jim, it is fair for a person to get into an agreement, a discussion, a bargaining on their pay. But there are some things that the taxpayers and the people that represent them ought to have control of. Because if we do not have control, we're not going to fix Ohio.
If you don't stand up and do something, trust me, they will take everything from us and we'll be going way back instead of going forward.
Thelma Everhart of Columbus took time off work at Job and Family Services to stand united with those opposed to Senate Bill 5. Hundreds gathered at the Teamster Hall in Columbus. Famed civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson joined them in support of the rights of middle-class Ohioans.
Right now, if you had a message to give to Governor Kasich, what would it be?
Kill SB 5.
He's been a firefighter for the past 17 years. Harvey fears if Senate Bill 5 passes, it will eliminate the middle class. He says the bill will make it easier for elected officials to shut down fire stations like this one and lay off workers. Harvey says the claim that the bill will save the state $1 billion is untrue.
Cities historically done a lot of wasteful spending. You know, that's really, cities are in the positions they're in. It's not because they give me a couple % pay increase.
There's no reason for public sector employees to be insulated from the effect of the economy. And right now they're insulated from it. They're expecting 5 to 7% raises when the rest of the world's getting 1%.
And the future of Ohio is in our hands. You were elected to do this, not to have fear of who's going to yell at me or vote against me. I mean, come on. Remember what Churchill said. You only die once in war. In politics, you can die 100 deaths. I've used up 80.
It is absolutely deafening here as people have filled the rotunda. They are chanting, "Kill the bill," among other things. Jim, for the first time ever, the big, thick wooden doors behind these doors were closed off. I've never seen that before.
Right, and everything that we're hearing is indeed, he could still hear it inside. Those lawmakers could. It's a speech that Republicans love. A little disorganized, some might argue. We'll get into that a little bit later, but still, as folks can hear,
These union supporters are not happy, and they continue to be very upset.
Jim, the thousands of union protesters we've seen the past couple of weeks have seemingly had little impact.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the Republican numbers here might have been just too much for these union supporters and union workers. Fact is, last November, Republicans came sweeping back into power. They increased their numbers in the state Senate. They took over the state House. And at the end of the day, that majority, that Republican majority that wants SB 5 is probably going to get their way, although the vote could be much tighter than originally expected, at least in the Senate.
There being 17 yeas and 16 nays, the bill is passed and entitled.
SB 5 as amended will require pay raises for teachers based on merit. It will end binding arbitration for firefighters and government employees, and it will make illegal the right to strike. Any way you cut it, the passage of SB 5 is a huge victory for Governor John Kasich, who basically campaigned on this issue. That plus Jobs Ohio means that his legislative agenda is well on track. But union supporters say, hold on, ultimately this will be decided by the people of Ohio. They plan to take SB 5 to a referendum either this November or next.
Union busting is disgusting!
The message was loud and clear. Ohioans should turn back Senate Bill 5, the new collective bargaining law.
I've got approximately 2,000 signatures on my own. This kind of became a personal thing with me. I went out every weekend.
Jim Atkins from Richwood was one of thousands of opponents of SB 5 who marched through downtown Columbus Wednesday to help deliver over 1.3 million signatures to the Secretary of State's office.
My wife's a teacher, I'm a police officer, and it puts us in a financial situation that we could lose our house.
Jason Mock, campaign director for the pro-SB 5 side, argues the new law is just one tool that local municipalities need in these tough economic times.
A lot of the problem is found in labor contracts, especially at the local level, where communities are spending upwards of 80% of their budgets on personnel costs.
Mock concedes that organized labor effectively defined the SB 5 fight months ago, and his side has been scrambling to catch up.
We had to balance the importance of communicating why these reforms are necessary with not looking like we're attacking government employees.
Recent polls have consistently shown repeal of SB 5 likely, something Republican lawmakers are privately conceding. Even the governor is beginning to sound conciliatory as Election Day nears.
When voters speak, you listen to them. I mean, you have to pay attention to what they say.
Ohioans head to the polls today with some big decisions to make on dozens of races and issues, but not one is being talked about as much as issue 2.
Polls don't vote. People do, and we really need to make sure people vote.
We're the underdog in this campaign. We always have been from the outset. Being a change agent isn't always popular.
They say as Ohio goes, so goes the nation. And that's why the entire country is watching closely what happens in the Buckeye State today.
Organized labor is telling me that they have now exceeded their expectations when it comes to their volunteer efforts today. What that all means is that every voter that they've identified as a supporter the past few weeks, they've now made contact with that person to make sure that they're headed to the polls. Now, this almost has the feel of a holiday for public workers. I spoke to teachers today who view this election as mandatory participation. Labor has a lock of votes that they can almost guarantee are now accounted for. But on the Republican side, sort of the opposite. There's a sense of disappointment, almost bewilderment.
It's been a year-long fight for public workers that has finally come to an end in their favor. Good evening, Ohio. I'm Mike Kohlmeyer. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Sandra Cole. Governor John Kasich is about to speak on issue 2. It's a night of defeat for the governor.
Yeah, just a moment ago, we learned that the AP did project issue 2 going down. In other words, SB 5, which would restrict collective bargaining rights for thousands of state employees. That has been overturned.
One person who has pushed hard for the anti-vote against issue 2, former Governor Ted Strickland. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
It's a good night. It's a good night.
This is also a very high energy feel in the room here tonight in Cleveland. There are hundreds of people in this room, the very same people that went door to door, worked the phones, trying to get people to vote no on issue 2.
And, you know, frankly, I've been involved in a lot of things, whether it's sporting activity or politics. You know, when you get beat, you have to admit it, and you got to congratulate and shake the hands of those folks who prevailed.
With everything that's happened the last couple of weeks, they really want to get to this game and get on the field.
Yeah, you mentioned how they're spending the night. I'm not going to get into all that. I hope it's in their beds. Just today, though, just some film study for the Buckeyes as they continue preparation for the 77th Sugar Bowl between Arkansas and Ohio State. And, of course, isn't that why we're all here? There actually is a football game that will be played on Tuesday night, and that is music to the ears of Buckeye fans, players, and coaches alike. Jim Tressel meeting with the media for the final time before Tuesday's Sugar Bowl today, and he is hoping that his team has learned from all this adversity.
We've been a part of moments where we had to handle some adversity.
We continue to follow the developments in an investigation into OSU head football coach Jim Tressel.
It's all surrounding a Yahoo Sports report that claims Tressel may have known that these 5 players were selling memorabilia months before it was reported to the NCAA.
If Coach Tressel knew about the violations and did not report it immediately to the school's athletic director or the OSU compliance office, it could be a fireable offense. The football program could be hit with NCAA sanctions and penalties, possibly forfeiting all of the 2010 season. OSU President Dr. E. Gordon Gee attended today's State of the State speech. He remained pretty tight-lipped when asked about the latest accusations against the school's coach.
Today is about the governor and about the state. We are moving very much forward, and I feel very confident that we will solve these issues.
You will get to hear from Coach Jim Tressel, as well as Athletic Director Gene Smith and OSU President Dr. E. Gordon Gee, live at 7 o'clock right here on ONN.
There were some emails that Coach Tressel had received that revealed that he had some prior knowledge regarding the matter with our student athletes.
Admittedly, I probably did not give quite as much thought to the potential NCAA part of things as I read it.
Jim Tressel suspended 2 games and fined $250,000 for violating NCAA rules when he failed to notify the university about information received involving 2 student-athlete football players. Welcome to this special edition of Buckeye Blitz. I'm Bo Bishop. On the program tonight, we'll take an in-depth look at the findings released by Ohio State on Tuesday. We will discuss the penalty levied on Coach Tressel, as well as where the program goes from here. And now, as we've had all day to digest it and then see Jim Tressel and Ohio State's reaction today, how do you react upon the way Ohio State handled this?
Well, I think they handled it probably the best way they probably could, but I have a lot of questions.
He and I sat down for a while and talked about the state of our program. And it's at that time that he decided to resign.
One of the most successful college football coaches in history resigns amidst NCAA turmoil.
Jim Tressel's Ohio State tenure comes to an abrupt halt, continuing a shocking series of events over the last 6 months. But is it over?
Luke Fickell will coach the team in 2011, but who will be handling the headsets in 2012?
Tonight, OSU quarterback Terrell Pryor says he will not be returning for his senior season. Pryor released a statement through his attorney today stating, quote, "In the best interest of my teammates, I have made the decision to forego my senior year of football at The Ohio State University."
We will take you live to the Fawcett Center on Ohio State's main campus, where interim head football coach Luke Fickell will address the media. What a year it's been so far for Ohio State, Bo. This is just another chapter.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think it's really important for Luke to come out there and say that a new course is about to be charted, that he's ready for that course to be going, and he's the leader of the program now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Luke Fickell, our head football coach.
Thank you. I can't tell you how humbled and honored I am to stand here as the head coach of The Ohio State University.
Those records will be gone. The Big Ten championship is vacated.
OSU takes a preemptive strike and sanctions itself after a string of embarrassing violations. And the college is offering as punishment to vacate all of its wins from last year. And the university is proposing to give back its Sugar Bowl trophy that it won in January after beating Arkansas. In addition, the university is proposing to put itself on 2 years of probation. Tressel has also accepted responsibility for his failure to inform the NCAA.
The NCAA could impose even harsher punishments on Ohio State, but athletic director Gene Smith says he believes what they are proposing is enough.
All I know is this is significant.
Ohio State takes their football fight to Indianapolis. OSU officials and former head football coach Jim Tressel faced several hours of questioning this morning. The hearing with the NCAA's Committee on Infractions focused on the tattoo and memorabilia scandal that recently rocked OSU's football program. ONN's Stephanie Menike has our story.
Former Ohio State coach Jim Tressel appeared this morning to voluntarily testify about his role in the team's alleged NCAA infractions.
We have breaking news out of Columbus this evening. The Ohio State University will announce its new head football coach. A news conference is scheduled for 5:15.
As we first reported last week, sports reporter Tim May with our partners at the Columbus Dispatch confirmed it will be Urban Meyer, a big name in college football. ONN's Stephanie Menike joins us live on scene from the Ohio State University campus with the details. Stephanie, what's it like there?
Well, the state of Ohio can barely wait to hear from the new head coach. It's exciting news. He even called it his dream job. Dom, we know he sat down with Luke Fickell. Will we see this man with the Ohio State Buckeyes?
The way we understand it, Luke Fickell will stay with the Buckeyes.
You're looking at live pictures now from the Fawcett Center on the campus of the Ohio State University. This is a homecoming for Urban Meyer. He is an Ohio kid, born and raised in Ashtabula, lived in Toledo for a while as well. In fact, his very first head coaching job was at Bowling Green State University.
Thanks, Gene. I am deeply honored and humbled that Dr. Gee, the trustees, and Gene Smith have selected us to lead the Ohio State University football program.
Before the 2012 season even begins, the Ohio State Buckeyes learned they will not be going to a bowl game in 2013. Good evening, Ohio, and thank you for joining us. I'm Sandra Cole.
And I'm Mike Kohlmeyer. The NCAA handed down the latest sanctions today against OSU. We have those details in tonight's top story.
The newly released sanctions mean the Buckeyes are out of the running for any bowl games, as well as the Big Ten title and national championship next year. The university was cited for failure to monitor, preferential treatment, and extra benefit violations in its football program. Now that's according to the findings announced today by the Division I Committee on Infractions.
But these penalties are significant, and that's part of the committee's role in both deliberating, finding allegations as violations, and then assessing penalties.
The program now faces these penalties: 3 years of probation from December 20th of this year through December 19th of 2014. The postseason ban, as we mentioned earlier, and a reduction of football scholarships from 85 to 82 for the next 3 seasons.
Now the question many ask is, why will the university not appeal the decision?
We looked at the facts and considered them, and we just felt like that the Ohio State University needed to take the higher ground.
These new sanctions mean Urban Meyer will start the season with a new focus in mind. ONN's David Wilkinson joins us now with the Blitz crew to tell us what this means for Meyer and the Bucs next season.
Guys, just finished up Buckeye Blitz, another great one, but here, just take me through your thoughts of what we got today from the NCAA and the punishments handed down to Ohio State.
Well, no doubt Ohio State was shocked at the fact that it got a postseason ban. Maybe as they added up all the increments, including the repeat violator clause, which gave the NCAA the right to do kind of whatever it wanted, they shouldn't have been as shocked.
But what it comes down to, I think this is the coup de grace of what Ohio State's been going through all year, and just really not quite dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's.
I just think it's just, a black eye for the program. I think they'll recover, but unexpected, not shocking in my opinion.
This is like not just a nightmare, it's like Noah's Ark, like wrecking right here in Zanesville, Ohio.
A chaotic scene in Muskingum County when nearly 60 exotic and dangerous animals are set free. Deputies move in to hunt unusual suspects: bears, tigers, and lions.
I gave the order on the way here that if animals looked like they were going out, they went down. We could not have animals running loose in this county.
Families stay inside as a precaution. Schools are closed for the day. Tonight, the search for the animals comes to a close. Most are dead. Now the work begins to save the 6 surviving animals and make sure something like this never happens again. Good evening, Ohio. I'm Mike Kohlmeyer. Thanks for joining us for this special report, Exotic Animals Escape. It was just 24 hours ago when we started to get reports about dozens of exotic animals on the loose in eastern Ohio. These weren't your average sized pets. They were mountain lions, bears, tigers, and wolves. Law enforcement made the tough decision to shoot and kill the animals out of public safety. And now very graphic pictures from the scene show the aftermath of this ordeal. 49 animals are now dead, 6 were saved and are being treated at the Columbus Zoo. Only one remains missing tonight. A snow monkey remains unaccounted for. You can see some of the dead animals there. This unfolded just east of Columbus, less than an hour away in Muskingum County. But the search for those dangerous animals extended all the way into Licking County. The deputies say all of the animals were set free by owner Terry Thompson, who investigators suspect then took his own life. Deputies spent the night and day around Thompson's 73-acre farm trying to account for all of the animals. ONN's Denise Alex joins us live from Muskingum County now with the very latest. Denise?
Mike, it has been one heck of a day. The past 24 hours have been insane for Sheriff Matt Lutz. He joins me now. Tell us, where do things stand at this point?
Well, things have kind of wound down. This has been about a 24-hour investigation, a little bit over that now. We're really pretty convinced that we have a good inventory of what animals were there. We believe we have one animal that's unaccounted for, which was a monkey.
Sheriff deputies and other law enforcement spent all night responding to calls of possible animal sightings. They were forced to take the animals down.
We've got a tiger behind the house, in the field. Go take a shot with his rifle. One tiger down, one tiger down.
The animals escaped from a farm run by a man named Terry Thompson. Now, Thompson was found dead on his compound after police say he killed himself. He ran this compound off of Kopchak Road in Zanesville. Here's a picture of it. You can see there are many cages there and other types of shelters on the property. And here's a look at some of the pictures taken of the animals that were on that property. These photographs come to us from a friend of Thompson's. You can see numerous lions and tigers, even a black panther that was once housed there. They had many animals, and of the 49 that were killed over the past 2 days, 18 of them were Bengal tigers. Very sad. Well, one neighbor who lived close to the farm found himself in the middle of all the action last night. ONN's Kristen Severance joins us live from the scene in Muskingum County with his amazing account. Kristen?
Mike, you know, I drove here to Zanesville. I was passing exit 153. Then I got a call on my phone that someone had spotted a mountain lion near exit 152. I got off the exit, started talking to people. Every person I met either had a story or a picture on their cell phone. That's when I met Fred Polk. You're about to hear from him in just a second. But I did receive some pictures by text message this afternoon that I have to show you. They are graphic, but it just gives you an idea of what people are dealing with here. This is the aftermath after deputies say the owner of a Zanesville animal farm released his animals and killed himself. Lions, tigers, grizzly bears, all on the loose and all shot by deputies Tuesday and Wednesday.
There was like a bomb ready to explode.
Fred Polk has lived next to Terry Thompson for 20 years. Their yards were connected.
I mean, you think about 48 lions and tigers and bears.
Animals he saw every day in their cages until Tuesday.
Over in the field, there was about 15 exotic animals running loose.
Deputies soon swarmed the property.
They charged the deputy, so the deputy had to shoot the bear.
Polk took the deputies around in his pickup truck as they searched for the animals. Shell casings still in the bed of the truck.
They were shooting a lot of animals.
24 hours after the animals were let out of their cages and on the loose, Polk isn't taking any chances. He has a rifle in his truck, 2 more guns in the back seat, and he told his wife, "Don't you dare go outside."
But I mean, it was a little worry on all the neighbors.
Worries that came true this week. And, you know, Polk told me that he had just a feeling for years that something bad was going to happen. And I do have to tell you that Thompson's animals will be returning to his farm in a way. They'll be buried there. Live in Zanesville, I'm Kristen Severance, the Ohio News Network.
Okay, thanks, Kristen. Well, people who knew him remember the farm owner, Terry Thompson, as a complicated character who flew planes, raced boats, and owned a custom motorcycle shop, which also sold guns. And David Bradley says he knew Thompson for about 40 years. Bradley says Thompson did a lot of different things, but kept to himself. He last talked to him before Thompson went to prison on gun charges.
Terry was a very eccentric person. He more or less lived on the edge at all times. Terry was a highly decorated helicopter pilot in Vietnam. He flew right in the thick of battle, helicopter gunships.
Well, this incident isn't just gaining attention here in Ohio. National Humane Society officials have been concerned about exotic animals being treated as pets. Owen and Stephanie Menike joins us live now from the scene in Muskingum County with more on that. Stephanie?
Here say it's a tragedy. We have to warn you, the video we're about to show you is pretty graphic, and of course for you and I, seeing these pictures is very hard, but imagine people who love and care for animals for a living to actually see this video. Now, hearing and talking about 50 animals being gunned down is hard enough to hear, but seeing it really is a completely different thing. Now, it's a reality of this story many people say could have been prevented. Debbie Leahy is a captive wildlife specialist for the Humane Society of the United States. She flew in from Chicago immediately when she heard the news.
Not surprised. It's a tragedy, but just not surprised. It's been happening over and over and over again in Ohio and in other states where there's poor regulation. It's one of the worst. Yeah, Ohio is one of only about 10 states that has virtually no regulation on dangerous wild animals.
Now, Leahy says although she's very saddened by the news, she says she does not fault this sheriff or the department. She said they simply had to do what they had to do to protect this community and possibly nearby communities. Reporting live in Muskingum County, I'm Stephanie Menike for the Ohio News Network.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. As you heard, the incident near Zanesville has renewed the fight to beef up Ohio's law books when it comes to owning exotic animals. Jack Hanna of the Columbus Zoo has been helping in the efforts to toughen up the law.
Governor Strickland signed a bill to make these laws much stricter. It was handed over to Governor Kasich. The problem is who enforces the laws, who are the people that go out and inspect these places, how do we shut down these auctions in Ohio?
The order would have prohibited anyone who had been convicted of animal abuse or neglect from owning exotic animals. Terry Thompson had an animal cruelty conviction back in 2005. The governor's office says that law was unenforceable, but some lawmakers are pushing to change that.
I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but I think we definitely need to sit down with the experts after this is over with, evaluate this situation, and see where we go forward here. I think we need to take a strong look at this, to how we prevent this in the future.
Kasich's office is working with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources in hopes of making it more difficult to own a dangerous exotic animal. Jack Hanna says he's on board to help make sure a situation like this doesn't happen again.
As long as I'm standing here, I'm not the governor, but I'll do everything I can over my dead body to put these people out of business, to shut these auctions down, but also to keep the people that breed these animals that are really good breeders we need.
Well, since this spring, the Department of Natural Resources has been working on legislation to address this issue. They hope to have a framework to present to legislators in the next 30 days. In the meantime, the Humane Society is asking the governor to issue an emergency order cracking down on exotic pets in Ohio.